I have chocolate on my face. Hey guys, welcome back to Reading to Save the World. It's been a while again. Voices will be inconsistent throughout probably the entirety of of whatever however long it takes me to read this fic, which will probably be a long time. So, the last chapter, in a nutshell, E-Class kills the exams, Izuku takes Lovero's advice and uses assassination as his quirk for the exam, President Mike, Eraserhead, and Araraka make an appearance, Shinso claims the highest quirk exam score, and Izuku finally tells everyone he's quirkless. E-Class gets to go on a trip to an island, Lovero teaches Izuku a new trick, Izuku drinks some juice, and their assassination plot to take out their teacher gets underway. So, my voice is probably going to be awful, and I'm probably going to take a lot of breaks to drink water because I just am recovering from COVID that I had for 2 weeks. So, my voice is going to be bleh. Okay, let's get right into the next chapter. To face new enemies. Not long after they arrived at the island, Bitch Sensei literally pulled Hitoshi away from the group to a secluded part of the private beach. Can I help you? He snapped, rubbing his arm. For a whiny woman, she certainly had a strong grip. Yes, you can. It's lesson time, brat. You may have avoided me the entire training week with Lovero, but I'm not letting you off that easily. She scowled. Fine, but you better make it quick. I've got to meet up with Yada soon. We kind of have an assassination plot in the works. Remember? Bitch Sensei scoffed. That's why I need to teach you this now. You'll thank me for it later. Hitoshi sighed and folded his arms, waiting for her to get on with it. The foreign teacher scowled deeper, but approached, grabbing the back of his neck. Bitch Sensei? What the? He was suddenly cut off as she attacked him with her infamous killer kiss. He could feel his brain short circuit and reboot itself as her tongue attacks his mouth masterfully. Gross, get her off, get her off, get her off! His brain cried out and gave him enough sense to finally push her off. He gasped for air desperately and wiped vigorously at his mouth with the sleeve of his hoodie. I thought we agreed you wouldn't molest me again, he spat, wishing he could wash his mouth out with hand sanitizer. Bitch Sensei rolled her eyes. That wasn't molesting, brat. I was teaching you my best weapon. I call it the kiss of death. Hitoshi snorted. Creative. Does that mean this is my knife of death and my gun of death? Shut up and listen, you little piece of shit, Bitch Sensei growled. I don't know how Lovero deals with mentoring so many little brats. Unbearable. Aren't you one of Lovero's brats, too? I said shut up! Bitch Sensei huffed and crossed her arms. Look, I'm trying to teach you something that could one day save your life. If I've learned anything in my line of work, it's that a deliberate placement of the hand or a certain positioning of the body can be a stronger weapon than any gun or quirk. I'm sure you already know this, but unless your target talks, you're defenseless, and if they know your quirk, they know how to defeat you. With my techniques, however, I have no doubt people will forget themselves and fall for responding you. You've felt my kiss of death after all. So what? You're going to teach me this death kiss of yours? Hitoshi asked. Please, I already have. This is a much different technique I'm going to show you, she said and reached into her bag. She pulled out a pair of sparkly heels. You should know that versatility is a must in the work of seduction. Hitoshi's eyes widened. No way in hell, Bitch Sensei. This isn't an option, Shinso. Oh, this isn't an option, Shitso. Take your damn shoes off. The plan was going perfectly, almost too perfect. They lured Koro-sensei to the floating chapel, distracted him so he wouldn't notice the tides flooding the floor, and cornered him right where they wanted him. They exploited every weakness they knew. There was no doubt in his mind that this was going to be the end. So, with that, Hitoshi pointed his gun at his chosen tentacle and smirked at his teacher. Goodbye, Koro-sensei. When the area surrounding Koro-sensei exploded, Hitoshi feared for a second that they had been tricked, and killing the octopus is what would cause the end of the world, that the creature was baiting them all this time to do his dirty work. But then the light faded and the waves subsided. The purple-haired boy swam to the surface and was greeted by Midoriya on his boat. Shinso, are you okay? Hitoshi coughed up some water but nodded. I'm fine. Did it work? Is he dead? He and his classmates looked around. There appeared to be no sign of their teacher. Karasuma and Bitch Sensei ran towards them on a boat deck, ordering them to keep an eye out in case Koro Sensei was able to regenerate. Hey, look at the. Excuse me. Hey, look at the water, Hara cried out, pointing at a spot where bubbles were forming unnaturally beneath the ocean. Hitoshi pulled out his gun and aimed it at the spot where Kautaoka swam over aimed it at the spot while Kautaoka swam over there at lightning speed and pulled out a ball? Hee hee, giggled Koro-sensei in ball form. Koro ball? While the class just gaped. It appeared that Koro-sensei's head had shrunken down and was being preserved in a clear sphere, while where the rest of his body was, Hitoshi had no idea. Well, class, allow me to introduce you to my absolute defense form. The energy of my transformation crystallized around my spearhead, creating a clear, impenetrable cocoon that will protect me for 24 hours. Then the molecules will melt down and I will return to my usual form via an energy explosion. In this form, nothing can harm me, but the trade-off is that I'm completely immobile, explained Korobal. I love that name for it, Korobal. If that's the case, couldn't we just launch you into deep space or something? Korobal chuckled. Wonderful observation, my boy. However, I know for a fact that there is no rocket capable of doing that in 24 hours. Such a shame, Karma said, picking up Korobal. Though the little tingling of my quirk tells me that you're not completely resistant to harm in this form. The devilish boy pulled out his phone, showing a picture of Koro-sensei shifting through porn magazines. Korobal screamed, but without the rest of his body, he couldn't hide his face and his tentacles. Karasuma ended up taking the ball, saying he'd let HQ deal with it now. But in the end, there wasn't much anyone could do. Korobal said that when he returned to his original form, the energy would explode just like it had before, putting everyone surrounding him at risk. Hitoshi scratched the back of his neck, looking up at the sky. He told himself it wasn't because he was trying to hold back tears. Midoriya, the emotional kid he was openly teared up. Nakamura sunk down and blew bubbles in the water, while Chiba and Hayami looked more defeated than he had ever seen them. Nagisa hung his head in shame, and even Karma's shoulders drooped a little. Don't be sad, class, Korobal tried. You got closer to defeating me than even heroes like All Might or Endeavor. You should be proud. This was undoubtedly the cleverest assassination attempt I have ever seen. It was clear the teacher was trying to make them feel better, praising their ingenuity like always. So why did it hurt so much worse? The class sat at the resort tables in complete silence. There was a sense of defeat among everyone that Hitoshi hadn't felt since he first walked into 3E, before Koro-sensei had ever come into their lives. Why does everything revolve around him these days? Hitoshi thought bitterly as he laid his head on the table. Chiba suddenly spoke up, breaking the silence. This is all my fault, he said. The class turned to him, visibly confused, and waited for the stoic boy to continue. The moment I fired, I knew my shot was going to be off. My quirk, it's always made my vision so clear. Too clear, in fact. That's why I wear my hair in my eyes. It helps me focus in and sort through the details my quirk wants to point out. But when I went to shoot, my vision blurred. I couldn't focus on any detail for a second, and it made me hesitate. If I had just kept myself together and controlled my quirk. Takebayashi pulled out a slip from his belly button. It's hard to calculate it accurately, but my best estimation is that if you had shot 0.5 seconds faster, or if Hayami's shot 30 centimeters to the left, there would have been a 50% increased chance of neutralization. Hayami trembled at the mention of her name. My quirk was off too. I had practiced so much on balancing the equilibrium of my hands in my hands when I shoot, but when it came to fire for real, it felt like I had never used my quirk before. You're not the only one to blame, Midoriya said, sniffling. I should have known better when I created the plan. I should have anticipated the worst-case scenario like this. I blew it, and now the world might pay for it. The class flinched collectively. Meihara placed his head down on the table and sighed. I'm exhausted, man. I vote we all head back to the dorms. A murmur of agreement ran through the class. Hitoshi arched an eyebrow. Sure, he was tired, but looking at the class now, you would have thought they ran a marathon, or 3. Something didn't seem right. Even Midoriya was looking a little worse for it only went downhill after that. Nakamura stood, trying to get back to her room, but promptly collapsed. Okajima, who had just been ranting about girls and boobs, suddenly had a massive nosebleed. Worse than usual. Sugino sneezed, triggering his quirk and sending the straw in his mouth flying like a bullet. Something definitely wasn't right. He rushed to Kanzaki's side right before the girl fell out of her chair. What the hell is going on? He asked, stabilizing the girl. Midoriya walked noticeably slower than usual to Kanzaki's other side and brushed his hand against her forehead. She's burning up. We should get her a wet towel, he noted, reaching over to soak a cloth napkin in water. Hitoshi took the opportunity to reach over and brush his friend's forehead too, flinching when he felt how warm he was. You too, Jolly Green. You need to sit down. Midoriya shook his head stubbornly. I'm fine. My fever isn't nearly as bad. Though Hitoshi wanted to argue, his friend did have a point. While Midoriya's skin was a little warmer than usual, Kanzaki's felt like fire, and it hurt to even touch her. What the hell is happening? Hitoshi wondered. What the hell is happening? Hitoshi wondered, eyeing his ill classmates. We need to get them to a hospital. Midoriya shook his head wearily, pressing a wet cloth to Kanzaki's forehead. There aren't any on the island. We would have to take them back to the mainland. Hitoshi still pulled out his phone, about to call an ambulance, when suddenly Ritsu appeared on his screen. The artificial girl stood frozen in the background while words streamed across the front, and an unnaturally deep voice dubbed over it. Looks like the snotty brats are feeling a little under the weather. The voice mocked. Midoriya paused in his care to look over at Hitoshi's phone. Ritsu must have been hacked, the green-haired boy observed. Well, I guess calling them sick is a bit of an understatement. The voice continued. They've been infected by a quirk-created virus, one of the deadliest in the world. Give it a few days, and their cells will wither into nothing, and their organs become jelly. Lucky for you, I have an antidote crafted. The only one of its kind. If you want it, you'll have to come get it yourself. I'm trying to look closer to the camera, so I'm moving my phone to closer to it so I can look towards you guys while I read. It's kind of difficult, okay? Okay. Well, I guess calling it. Oh, yeah. The screen changed to show a map of the island. Come to the hotel on the island's mountain peak. Top floor. Send the octopus with the kids with the rainbow. Send the octopus with the rainbow-haired kids, assuming they're still standing. And of course, if one's sick, then I guess the remaining ones will have to make the journey alone. And if they're all sick, well, they're as good as dead anyway. Midoriya tensed up, and Hitoshi made note of how flushed his face was. You have 1 hour. One package is delivered, then we'll discuss a trade. If all goes well, you will have the antidote, and I will have the bounty. Contact outside help, and the antidote will be destroyed. So please, act wisely. We're fighting for the same cause after all, aren't we? The line went dead, and Hitoshi couldn't help but feel like all hope went with it. So what you're saying is, Hitoshi drawled, that we're trapped on a shady resort known for harboring illegal business under the government's nose, while some madman is threatening to kill a bunch of middle schoolers for some prize money, and we have no choice but to just comply. They had gathered their poisoned classmates into a group and laid them down on makeshift cots, while the remaining ones stood around Karasuma waiting for their next instructions. The spiky-haired teacher sighed. Yes, I'm afraid so. And no offense, but aren't we trying to differentiate between Terasaka's voice and Hitoshi's? And no offense, but are we really planning on sending runts into the battle? I mean, I get turnip-headed devil boy, but them, Terasaka had said, grabbing Midoriya and Nagisa by the backs of their shirts. Not trying to be rude or anything, but my friends' lives are at stake. Why don't we just say screw it and take everyone to the to the hospital? Bad idea, Takebayashi said. A slip spewed out of his belly button again. My statistics say that if we did that, there's 100% chance of death. Not even healing quirks such as Pro Hero Recovery Girls could save them. Karma sighed. So basically, we have no choice but to do what the prick wants, with the octopus out of commission and all. Said Creature giggled. Never fear, Karma Boy. I may be immobilized, but I'm not without a plan. I need all healthy students not caring for the ill to gather at the quadrants Ritsu is sending to you ASAP. Hitoshi climbed in the car Karasuma arranged for them and scowled when Midoriya followed after him. No, you're poisoned. Go lay down. Midoriya hushed him violently, glancing around to see if anyone had heard. I promise. I promise I'm not that sick. I hardly even have a fever. I'll be fine. Hitoshi still blocked his entry. Jolly Green, if you don't go lay down right now, I'm going to force you, and I don't want to do that to you. Please, Shinso. You heard the caller? He asked for me. If I go with the other 6 students, you and Nagisa are going to be completely alone. He asked for the rainbow-haired kids. Karma is healthy too, Hitoshi argued, but his friend shook his head stubbornly. I know that, but I can't abandon you all when I know I can still walk on my own. I don't know why I'm not as sick as the others, but I'm not going to question it if it means I can help. Midoriya looked so desperate and sad, like a lost puppy in the pound. Hitoshi scowled. There was a reason he was a cat person after all. Fine, he relented, letting Midoriya finally climb in. But if you start feeling worse, you better tell me, or so help me, Midoriya. I will, I promise, the green-haired boy swore. Once he was buckled into the seat next to Hitoshi, the brainwasher grabbed his friend by the shoulder and forced him to lay down in his lap. Quiet, Jolly Green, he said when Midoriya tried to protest. You might as well save your energy while you still have it. Rest a little. I'll wake you when we get there. The green-haired boy finally stopped fighting, settling in so he was laying on his back. Up close, Hitoshi could see how flushed his best friend's cheeks were, and he wished he'd never agreed to let Midoriya come in the first place. Thanks, Shinso. You're a good friend. You know that, right? Hitoshi snorted. Damn straight. Now hush up and rest, you nerd. The ride wasn't nearly as long as Hitoshi had hoped, and as soon as they pulled over to the side of the road. A huge cliff stood before them, their destination conveniently located at the top. Well, we tried. Well, we tried, he mumbled, trying to climb back in the car, only for Karma to drive him back out. Come on, Shinso, live a little, huh? Since when has a little mountain ever been enough to stop us? The devilish boy teased. His classmates began to scale the cliff wall with no harness or hand grips, like the monkeys they all were, and Hitoshi just sighed. I do not get enough sleep for this. He approached the cliff, about to start his ascent, when he noticed how apprehensive Midoriya looked. Normally, the boy was enthusiastic about almost anything, but that was when he wasn't poisoned. Though his best friend may not be incapacitated like the others, the virus had clearly weakened him. Hey, he said, holding out his hand. We'll do it together, yeah? They climbed next to each other, Itoshi making sure Midoriya wasn't about to collapse and fall off. It was clear they were much slower than the rest of the group. However, if you haven't noticed, we're kind of on a time limit, Karma commented, looking down at them. The rest of the class was about 100 feet ahead of them. We're trying, all right. Jolly Green isn't feeling too jolly right now, he answered. Are you sure you're okay, Midoriya? Nagisa asked. The green-haired boy waved him off shakily. Just a little tired, I promise, he said, right as he slipped slightly on a rock. Do you guys need help? Kimura asked, dropping down so he was next to them, showing off his fancy shoes that allowed him to use sticky feet while wearing them. My quirk lets me stick to vertical surfaces for short periods of time. It'll make climbing with another person a piece of cake. I can help too. I've got more than enough strength, declared Terasaka, much to everyone's surprise. Oh, don't look so shocked. Like I said, my friends' lives are on the line, and if Broccoli Hair over there is going to be one of the reasons they're saved, then I'm going to do what it takes. A lion always protects his pride. Oh, my goodness. Sorry, that's probably going to be kind of a common theme throughout this is me coughing or taking a drink of my water. Hitoshi blinked but smirked. Just don't drop him, kitty boy. Yeah, right, turnip head. Hitoshi paused to help Midoriya climb on Kamaro's back before the sticky feet boy took off up the mountain, literally leaving Hitoshi in the dust. He sighed and began to climb up the rest of the distance on his own. Sure, he mumbled sarcastically. Leave the purple kid behind. He can figure it out himself. By the time they reached the top, Ritsu had already hacked the floor plan and mapped out their ascent. Hitoshi sighed when he saw they'd be taking stairs the entire way. He really, really should start taking PE more seriously. Let's go. Let's go. We don't have much time, Karasuma said, holding the side door open for them. The group ran inside silently and waited for their teacher to peer around the corner and scope out the area. Damn it. There are way too many guards for us to go undetected as a large group, he cursed. Bitch Sensei scoffed and tossed it to... Oh, well, she said tossed Hitoshi her obnoxiously large purse, but I totally just imagined her tossing her hair. Excuse me. That's what you think, she remarked. Leave this to the pros, will you? Boys, plug your noses. Oh, and shitso, I hope you're taking notes for our next lesson. Hitoshi bristled, irritably, glaring at the purse in his hands, but watched nonetheless as his teacher approached the security guards, stumbling like she was tipsy. An opaque, barely visible aroma began to waft off her skin, and within seconds she had the attention of every man in the room. They flew into her trap like unassuming flies. For the attitude, for all her attitude and complaining, Karasuma explained, she is still one of the most dangerous women in the world, capable of taking out even the strongest of heroes or the deadliest of villains. That's what makes her a great pro assassin. The class snuck onto the staircase with no problems thanks to Bitch Sensei's distraction. Before he left, Hitoshi glanced back at the woman, adjusting her purse on his shoulder. She was playing the piano, putting on a little show for the men, but they still made eye contact as he left. She smirked and mouthed the words, "Remember our lesson." Karasuma recommended they pose as snobby rich kids while they traveled to the next checkpoints to avoid suspicion. Apparently, not only was this resort home to shady business deals, but also to the brats of the ultra-wealthy and famous. It seemed to work with them, easily making it past even more hotel security, and Hitoshi was beginning to think they might actually make it in one piece. Terasaka, look out! But then a dude with a big nose and a Hawaiian shirt threw poisonous gas at them. Karasuma managed to knock Yoshida and Terasaka to the safety, but ended up being enveloped in a cloud of purple fog in their stead. Fuwa, who had shouted the warning, was touching a nearby chair and scowling. I should have known. I recognized you as the worker who gave us complimentary drinks back at the resort. When I kept bumping into things that gave me flashbacks of you touching them while setting up this little plot, I knew you were no good. You were the one who poisoned our class. Oh yeah, little missy? Big Nose taunted. Where's the evidence? How do you know your puny classmates didn't just catch some tropical disease? Now, I know Fuwa goes on a whole rant here explaining like why she understands, but like for like me, I would just be like, well, I mean, cuz you just threw poisonous purple gas at our teacher right in front of us just now. I mean, like that's a big clue that you might be the guy who poisoned us earlier. But what do I know? Anyways, continuing on, Fua scoffed. I'm not so easily fooled. My quirk history trace gives me glimpses of the 24-hour history of anything I touch. When you handed me the drink, I had flashbacks of odd substances being put into the drink. At the time, I brushed it off as a strange bartending techniques. Well, that was a possibly fatal oversight on my part. I have no doubt you, as the server, were the one who poisoned the drinks. Wow, Fula, that was so cool, Midoriya said once the girl finished her monologue. Hitoshi noticed the boy shakily reach for his notebook and firmly slapped his friend's hand down and hissed, "Now is not the time!" And it really wasn't. All of a sudden, Karasuma collapsed to his knees and Big Nose chuckled. Whatever your quirks may be, it's very clear you're not here to trade. The big man will not be happy about this when I tell him, he said, turning to leave. Without even a signal, the class dispersed in seconds, blocking all the exits like their training taught them. Toshi broke off a wooden leg of a nearby chair to make a club, holding it menacingly. You should have just reported us to your boss instead of confronting us, Karasuma said, standing weakly. Big Nose sneered and tried to gas their teacher again, but the spiky-haired man lashed out too quickly, kicking Big Nose in the face. There was a bright red light as they connected, and the man was knocked out cold. What's Karasuma's quirk again? Is his quirk something to do with the bright red light? I don't know. It's been a while since I've read this. Whoa! How can he? Whoa! How can he still move so fast, even with the poison eating away at his strength? Yada wondered aloud, voicing all her thoughts. It's my quirk. Oh, he's about to explain it. There we go. Karasuma announced. The same red light was running all over his body, but his knees were quaking as he stood above their fallen foe. Isogai moved to help their teacher stand. It's called kickback. I absorb the energy of attacks into my body and harness it for my own use, making me into the perfect super soldier. The stored up energy from the attack is the only reason I'm able to stand right now. You can't push yourself anymore. You can't push yourself like that anymore, Karasuma sensei. I understand that what you're saying. Your quirk is the only thing keeping the poison from killing you. You need to take it easy, said Midoriya, while simultaneously leaning into Nagisa for support. That's slightly hypocritical, Karma taunted. Karasuma sighed. I know, which means I'm afraid that for the rest of the mission, it's going to be all in your hands. I'll do what I can do to instruct you, but if we're to defeat this enemy, it'll be all up to your strength as a team. Their next enemy cracked a glass window with his palm, and it became pretty clear that they were going to need a lot more than brute strength to defeat a whack job like this. Fortunately, they had a karma. So you call yourself Grip, huh? Not really a clever name, I must say. It's kind of a dead giveaway for what your quirk is. Not that the window didn't make it pointedly clear. The red-haired boy drawled. Figured it'd be figured it'd be best to be as straightforward as possible so the contractors knew what they were getting into. Grip replied, It's not exactly hard. I mean, take a look at yourself. Fiery red hair, smoldering gold eyes. You probably have some type of fire quirk, don't you? Hitoshi swore he saw Karma flinch at the mention of a fire quirk, and the temperature of the room literally seemed to drop. The devil boy quickly hit it with a smirk. Nope, Karma taunted. Just got a brain that works faster than anyone else in the world. Grip grinned and popped his fingers one by one. Well, that will make crushing your skull with my bare hands all the more enjoyable. A few blows, 2 canisters of poison gas, and a conniving plan by Karma later, and Grip was tied up on the floor on his stomach. Does your quirk let you see the future or something? How'd you know to hold your breath for my gas attack? The professional assassin complained. Karma sat peaceably on the ground in front of him. Hardly, the red-haired boy replied. My innate capability just makes my brain process 10 times faster than yours. I knew from the beginning that you wouldn't fight fair, not because you're dishonorable, no, but because you're merely a minion trying to obey his master's commands. Playing fair doesn't allow for that. Korobal giggled quietly as the devil's boy taunted the captured assassin. Karma has come so far with his abilities. As his teacher, I must say I am truly proud. What do you mean, Kora-sensei? Nagisa asked. I'm trying to get Nagisa's voice right because his and Midoriya's are very similar. How do you mean, Kora-sensei? Nagisa asked. After his embarrassing flop with the end of term exam results, it seems our young Karma has learned to utilize the true extent of his quirk. He used to just expect it to do the work for him, requiring no extra work of studying for him. That's not how it worked, however. His quirk can only work with what it knows and can analyze, so going into the exam with no prepared knowledge left him with 20% less of a normal skill, as was translated with his B average grades. Oh, I get it, Midoriya said weakly. Innate capability allows Karma to take in the information around him and instantly know the answer. Like in a fight, it seems like his instincts are supernatural, and it's because his quirk is super calculating your every move. Going in blind, either to a test or actually blind in a fight, takes away one of his senses, and therefore a chunk of his processing abilities. Shinso paused, eyeing his best friend suspiciously. How did you manage to think that much when you're halfway poisoned? Maybe your secret quirk is non-stop thinking. Yoshida scrunched his nose. What kind of quirk name is that? Karasuma sighed. The man didn't have the energy to deal with their antics when he was healthy, so being poisoned only made it so much worse. Can we please focus on the task at hand? Ritsu, where to next? To get to the top floor, Ritsu mapped out that they had to go first through the staircase located on the club floor. Unfortunately, there were two major problems accessing it. The door is locked. Hold on, who's saying this? Oh, the door is locked from the outside, so someone will have to go through the bar area to get through it. However, usually the lounge area. Usually the lounge area door is located behind. Usually, the area the lounge door is located behind is open access, but there's a special performance event tonight that has left it blocked off. The only way to get last-minute access is to be invited by a performer, the robotic girl explained. So not only are a bunch of junior high students supposed to sneak into a bar, but we have to somehow persuade a performer to let us get backstage access? How are we supposed to do that? Leave the first half to us, Kataoka spoke up, motioning to the girls. I doubt we'll have any trouble making our way through the bar. I'm fairly confident we'll be able to persuade our way into the lounge area, too, especially with Yada's quirk. I don't think that's going to work like you think it will, Nagisa said, grabbing some poster from the wall. Yada, your quirk relies on distracting your target first, correct? And you were taught by Bitch Sensei to do it using her method? The girl nodded, and Nagisa turned the poster around for everyone to see. Well, I don't think the seduction methods are going to work too well with these performers. The poster was an advertisement for the exclusive show being held in the lounge. It depicted women with outlandish blonde hair, extreme makeup, and very sexual clothing. And it all added up to one thing. It was a drag show. Oh, lovely. How beautiful. Drag shows are amazing. You've got to be kidding me, Hitoshi breathed, while the rest of his classmates began to panic. Well, how are we supposed to get in the door now? Kimura asked. Easy. We just switched to plan B, Karma answered. While everyone tried to figure out what he meant by that, the demon boy side-eyed Hitoshi and grinned wickedly, making the brainwasher sweat drop. Plan B? Yoshida repeated. Are we supposed to know what that means? Karma kept eyeing Hitoshi as he spoke. Isn't it clear? If we can't convince a performer to let us in the lounge, one of us will have to infiltrate as one of the drag queens. The group blinked collectively, following Karma's eyes, and Hitoshi gritted his teeth. No way in hell. Terasaka burst out laughing. You mean Turnip Head over there? You've got to be kidding me. I don't mean to be rude, but wouldn't it make more sense to someone who already looks like a girl to infiltrate? You know, like Nagisa? Okano suggested. The blue-haired teen jumped at the mention of his name. Huh? Me? As entertaining of a sight that would be, Kama began. The problem is Naga is simply too androgynous and would likely be mistaken for being an actual girl. While it won't be a bad idea to dress him up so he can act as extra protection for the girls, someone else will have to be the drag queen, and Shinso is the obvious choice. I still don't understand how you reached that conclusion, Hitoshi deadpanned, trying not to show how much he was sweating. Karma arched an eyebrow and smirked. "Is that so?" the devil boy asked. He suddenly held up the purse Hitoshi had been carrying around, and the brainwasher, hold on, I gotta readjust my sitting. You sit here for an hour reading books, your legs, they start to cramp up. "Is that so?" the devil boy asked. He suddenly held up the purse Satoshi had been carrying around, and the brainwasher had no idea when or how he got his hands on it. "What's in this bag bitch sensei entrusted you with, huh?" Karma pulled out a pair of heels and a long-haired purple wig, earning him wide stares from all of his classmates. "Please, no," he begged, hopelessly, taking a step back. Yada grabbed the condemning items, and she and the other female classmates circled him, grinning evilly. "Oh, yes." Oh, it's lovely. High heels were a demonic medieval torture device that Hitoshi never in his life thought he'd have to deal with. But now, because of Bitch Sensei, he felt their painful trap twice. He walked, stumbled, to the entrance of the club as confidently as someone who had felt so ridiculous could. His face felt disgusting with the amount of makeup coating it, and his outfit was way too tight for comfort, and his feet were likely bleeding. He's just glad he convinced his classmates he didn't need to tuck. That's a catastrophe he never wants to endure. The bouncer had let him pass without a second glance, and once he was inside, he made eye contact with the girls who had gone ahead before him to stake out the area. Surprisingly, he didn't see Nagisa, the only person at this time who knows his pain with them. They sent Nagisa in, also dressed like a girl, though with way less makeup and effort. The boy is about as androgynous as they come, to act as a bodyguard of sorts in case things got out of hand. But for some reason, he was nowhere to be seen with the girls he was supposed to be protecting. He nodded at Kataoka, signaling everything was a go, and she subtly gestured to her left, meaning the entrance for the performers was in that direction. Hitoshi turned on his heel, literally, and headed over there, pretending not to hear the catcalls and expertly dodging the hands that tried to reach out and touch him. He was almost at the area blocked off for performers only when someone grabbed onto his waist, pulling flush against their back. "Hey, pretty lady, I don't know the pre-show had already started," a man whispered in his ear. His breath reeked of alcohol, and Hitoshi felt like barfing. "Why don't you come with me and give me and my pals a special performance? I promise we tip well." That guy's accent changed in like 5 different ways in that paragraph, but it doesn't matter. He's a creep. Creeps have many different voices. The man's hands trailed up Hitoshi's body and shoved a wad of cash down the purple-haired boy's top. More furious than he'd ever been before, Hitoshi broke out of the hold with a practiced twist and a shove. The disgusting man determinedly held onto his wrist. "Let me go," he hissed, trying again to break free without making too much of a scene. "But we already paid, girlie. Come on, that tip is just the start if you follow me," the man said, pulling again, and in these heels Hitoshi almost toppled over. He was about to brainwash the creep into submission when a hand came in and detached the man forcefully. "What?" the man began, and they turned around to see the tallest woman Hitoshi had ever seen. "Sorry, touching the queens is strictly prohibited. Club rules," the stranger stated, his voice shockingly deep, and Hitoshi quickly realized that it definitely was not a woman. The creep quickly backed off, wisely running away, and the tall drag queen motioned for Hitoshi to follow. "That's why you never leave the stage area, babe. You never know what drunk freaks will do," the queen said. "And it looks like you got free cash out of it. Can't complain too much. Oh, and your wig is crooked. Let me fix that for you." Instead of reaching out to adjust it, what felt like a slight breeze blew onto Hitoshi's head, moving the wig. The drag queen winked at him and unlocked the door to let him backstage. "The name's Madame Breezy. What about you, my purple queen?" He was almost ashamed to admit that he already had an answer for that. Bitch Sensei was very thorough in her training. "Kitty Masters," he answered. "Oh, that's so adorable, explains the ears. Oh, the audience will love you, Breezy cooed, and it took all of Hitoshi's willpower not to cringe. Well, feel free to take any station. I'm about to head out on stage, but hopefully I'll see you around. Stay away from the handsy ones. The tall queen strutted away, and Hitoshi let out a deep breath. He pulled out his phone from his bra and pulled up Ritsu's map. He followed it to where the supposed door should be. On his way there, he passed a large mirror and caught a glimpse of his outlandish disguise. A bright purple wig, not far off from his original hair, trailed down his back in oversized curls, and a pair of kitty ears sat on top. His face was caked in so much makeup, it was almost impossible to tell who he was. They even got rid of his eye bags. He didn't think that was possible. All of this, plus the annoying padding and skimpy dress, and, well, he looked like a woman. A weird, purple cat woman. He was going to kill Bitch Sensei and Karma the next time he saw them. Despite the torture Hitoshi had to go through, he eventually found the back door eventually found the back door to let everyone through. They were fortunately already there and waiting for him. The girls and Nagisa included. The blue-haired boy had a suspicious red tinge to his cheeks, and judging by the teasing going on, it wasn't blush caused by makeup. Oh, there you are, Shinso, Karma greeted cheekily. It seems you missed out on all of the fun. Nagisa apparently got hit on by some boy. How was your cross-dressing experience? Though Karma joked about it, Hitoshi easily noticed the lack of smile on Karma's face as he talked about some random boy flirting with Nagisa. You're so full of shit, Karma. The girls reported it. It seemed like one of Patron was trying to get a little handsy. Oh wait, that's the wrong voice. Sorry, it's Koroball speaking. The girls reported it. It seemed like one patron was trying to get a little handsy. I hope everything is okay, Koroball asked. Hitoshi sighed and nodded. Peachy, he said, taking off his wig and dropping it on Midoriya's head. I didn't leave empty-handed, so that's a perk. He fished the wad of cash out and brandished it to his classmates to make them jealous. Isogai sighed wistfully. Man, when they say an assassin can pull off either gender in the field is valuable, they really weren't kidding. Midoriya nodded. Some of the best killers were known for being completely ambiguous when it came to their gender, although I wouldn't say Hitoshi's outlandish getup was exactly ambiguous. Well, whatever it was, it sure was great comedic relief, Karma said, holding out photos of Hitoshi in drag. The purple-haired boy made a swipe for the phone, but the other frustratingly dodged. Nah, I've already sent these to Nakamura, she said, and I quote, as a bisexual queen, I'd tap that. Wow, aren't you honored? All right, that's enough for now, Karasuma said. Hitoshi, Nagisa, change as quickly as possible. We're only just approaching the operation's final phase. They made it to the VIP floor just to be greeted by more security. Only these ones were nothing like wimpy hotel ones. It seems like they are personally hired thugs. Great, just what we needed, bemoaned Sagaya. Getting by the hotel guards was hard enough. Now we have to get past professional bodyguards. We don't even know whose minions they are, Fua commented. Whine all you want, Terasaka growled, cracking his knuckles. Either way, we gotta get through these posers, too. Excellent point, Terasaka, Koroball piped up. And something tells me that the weapon you've been hiding will work perfectly in this situation. The Lion Boy huffed and rolled his eyes. You really can't get anything past you, huh? Hitoshi inserted. Anyone care to clue the rest of us in? How about you just... Their voices. How about you just keep up? Terasaka challenged. Kimura, you're the fastest one here. You lead them towards me. Kimura's eyes widened. And you expect me to do this how? I don't know. Figure it out. Karma actually ended up being the one to figure it out for their speedy classmate, and minutes later the boy was running for his life as two goons chased him down the hallway. Hitoshi glanced at Terasaka, who was waiting behind the counter with Yoshida, and prayed that this wouldn't end in complete disaster. Kimura was almost at the target spot, and Terasaka turned around smiling, bearing his ultra-sharp teeth. You might want to plug your ears. Not sure what that entailed, Hitoshi and the rest of his classmates did as they were instructed. Midoriya was, unsurprisingly, even kind enough to plug Korribal's ears for him. Kimura sprinted past them, and the two delinquents leaped into action. Stepping right in front of the bodyguards, Terasaka opened his mouth and let out the loudest, most inhuman roar Hitoshi had ever heard, as if a real lion were in the room. Looks like Terasaka found that hidden weapon after all. The bodyguards instantly fell to their knees and plugged their ears, giving Yoshida and Terasaka the perfect opening to strike. They had each tackled a bodyguard, pinning them to the floor. Yoshida's bodyguard recovered first and tried to attack, his hands morphing into crab-like claws. But the boy easily counteracted it by shining his bright car head-like eyeball in his opponent's eyes, blinding the goon. Using his steel elbow, Yoshida slammed it into the man's head. Soon, both bodyguards were unconscious, and the class walked out into the hallway. Fancy trick. When did you do quirk soul searching? Karma asked. The lion boy paused, clearly thinking carefully for his answer. I ran into a guy or two that gave me some inside tips, Terasaka answered, and Hitoshi couldn't help but think of the white-clad man Terasaka ran into earlier the year. Excellent work, you two. I recommend you do a research for anything useful they may be carrying. It could be what saves you further on in the mission, Korribal said. The two delinquents did as instructed, and to the shock of all the students, pulled out something they never thought they'd hold. Real guns? They seemed to all voice simultaneously. Yes, and I think Chiba and Hayami should have them, Korribal continued, making the two typically stoic students jolt. Their quirks are the best suited for the use of these weapons. It's not uncommon to see heroes and villains using weapons and technology to enhance their performance. These guns are just the second blade to your already existing quirks. The two students took the guns tentatively while Ritsu began to give their next instructions. We need to infiltrate the VIP room emergency staircase next, and to do that we must sneak through the empty concert hall to the 8th floor. Proceed with caution. They made their way over there, sneaking into the dark room as stealthily as possible. They barely made it inside before a pair of footsteps, as well as the sound of someone licking something, began to echo on the stage. On Karasuma's signal, they all scattered to hide behind the audience seats. Peering through the crack in between the chairs, Hitoshi could just barely see a glimpse of their next opponent. And more pointedly, Hitoshi saw a gleaming gun in the man's hand, aimed right at his head. Whoa, okay, there we go. We did it. Oh, that is a whole thing. This one actually isn't as long as some of the other ones I noticed. Like, while I was reading it, I noticed I was going through a little bit faster. And I appreciate that because as much as I adore doing these videos, sitting in one place and, like, especially since I'm not, like, at a professional chair or desk or anything, I'm literally just sitting on my bed. So it's just a flat surface where I usually sit crisscross applesauce. Sometimes it gets pretty uncomfortable doing this. Plus, I'm sure you can notice my voice as I go on, and also your tongue. The longer you read something, the like more tongue-tied you get. So I appreciated that this chapter was a little bit shorter than the other ones. But I adore this book, and I'm excited to read more with you guys. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. I'm wondering what'll happen. Well, I already know what happened. I've read this before. I'm just reading it to give you guys a little bit of it. We'll see you guys some other time. Bye! Yes, and